All right, people, welcome to another edition of the New Breed Show, the world's best podcast talking about everything new adjacent, death, new core, slam, thrash, metal, whatever you want to call it. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how are you?
Great.
Good stuff. So, everyone, this week, we're going to have a quick one because this is an off-cycle episode here. We're going to talk about the state of the union, the state of the podcast. How are things going, and where do we think we're going from here? So, Tim, let's start off with the retrospective aspect of it. If you had to look back on this year, what would you say? What would you say your thoughts are on how things have gone so far?
Great, man. I first of all, I can't believe it's been 2 years already.
That's kind of fucking wild. Yeah.
I was looking at. See, this is what's great about Facebook's like memories thing. Sometimes I'll click on it, and I remember clicking on it like 2 or 3 days ago, and I'm like, holy shit, 2 years already, dude. Like, I hate this be corny, but time fucking does fly. Like, it really does. It's crazy, but I think this year was great, man. The first year we were sticking with the topicals, and then we were like, the obvious thing was to start interviewing people, and I think that's been great. It's jumped listenings up, downloads, everything. It's great.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the first year we were still getting our sea legs because you do another show, I do another show. So getting, figuring out how we're going to host with each other, right, is usually that's half the battle. But I do think that we've kind of spread our wings a bit and picked up some different ideas, some interviews, some topical, some discussions, some topical interviews, panels and games. Now we're doing game shows, which is kind of wild. So I think, in all things considered, I really do think we've carved a unique lane for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not just everything new metal. It's new metal with a little bit of flavor and some fun to it. So I couldn't be happier. So with that being said, what Tim and I wanted to talk about is, excuse me, leftover Rona cough. What's in store for 2022? So not to bury the lead, but Tim and I were talking, and we both grew up loving new metal. It was one of the first genres that we encountered that we really, really enjoyed, and we absorbed it like a sponge. But that also led us into different places, into the places that our tastes are in now. So with that being said, Tim and I want to, and I'm speaking for both of us, but we want to continue doing this new metal thing. But at the same time, we want to start bringing in some outside influences and things that Tim and I really like. So for example, we would like to do some stuff in the metal and hardcore space. 2021 for me was the year of the slam. All I listened to was slam and deathcore. So we'd like to do some of that. We'd like to get some producers in here. So we're really just, and Tim, I'll let you speak in a second. We're really just trying to let our listeners know that we appreciate all of you. We appreciate your dedication, but we are going to span things out a bit because a lot of times, and Tim, keep me honest here, you don't know what bands you like until you hear them.
Absolutely.
And I think expanding people's listening palette is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to somebody else. It's not just looking backwards at the bands from yesterday that were so impressive and left marks on us, but the other stuff that's coming out now.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of bands right now that aren't considered new metal that have a huge new influence that I think people, like you said, would like.
Exactly.
Stuff that we've been listening to, and and this is not a slight at any other podcast in the new metal realm, but we don't want to be the podcast that just does album deep dives. I mean, the people that do it are great at it. And I kind of think that that's, in my own opinion, I think that is a thing that we don't do very well. Not saying that we do a shitty
it's their
job,
lane.
But that's not our lane.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be just another album deep dive podcast. And I think that a lot of people would, like, say, Roach Coach for that. And they do a great job of it.
Yeah, arguably better than us. Yeah.
And
I think it ties to your point, Tim, that there's the part of our show where we want to look backwards, which is the nostalgia piece and the memorabilia and all that. But we also want to look a little bit forwards.
Absolutely.
Right. And one of the biggest arguments I remember having as a kid was, I don't like that band because you don't understand what the guy is saying. And that was what I said when I was 17, 18. And now 3/4 of the music I listen to, it's like, you can't understand a goddamn word they're saying.
And
so
I'm right there with you.
We want to bring that to you, our audience, and to our listeners and our fans, right? So we are going to, maybe we interview some people that you don't really like that music, but maybe maybe there's a couple of interviews where we line somebody up that you come away really enjoying what you hear. And to us, that's the coolest thing in the world, is to introduce somebody to a new band that they didn't know they liked.
Yeah.
Which
But
is kinda
don't
wild.
take what Jay is saying as we're gonna completely go not new metal, because we're gonna have plenty of new metal.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, Tim and I were just looking at the schedule for the first 3 months of this year, and it is jam packed. It really is.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean, I think like we have I'm not going to say who, but we have an episode coming up soon that's, I think, a lot of people can get a lot of good information from. And it's a producer who
Mhm.
eventually will probably start doing new adjacent bands and new bands, because it's just the realm
Yep.
he's in now. He can't, I don't really think he can stick with doing just metalcore bands. I think when you get to a level of producing that he's in, you pretty much will get fed bands like a Code Orange or like a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. No.
think,
Yeah. I think
and
you're
I
right.
think a lot of aspiring kids now, especially young kids that like new metal, a lot of kids like the producing stuff where they want to do their own music and they're buying rigs and stuff at home. So I think if they can get a perspective from someone like him, they'll enjoy that. And I think it just opens up to like maybe he's a new metal fan, but you just don't know it.
Right. We have another episode. We have another interview lined up for that, for someone who, when we have him on, you're going to go, holy cow, that guy's a fan of new metal, but he actually
Yeah.
is. So yeah. And like Tim said, and we're not going away from new metal. If anything, we're going to lean more into it. But as we lean into it, like a black hole, we're going to be pulling in other things.
Absolutely.
We're going to be pulling in, for example, one of the bands I really want to line up is Signs of the Swarm, right? Because I thought that album, that was best deathcore album I heard last year. We're going to pull stuff like that in. We're going to help everybody expand what you hear. And at least if you can walk away with a good conversation, we'd be really happy. If it changes your taste, great. If it doesn't, but you enjoyed the hour you spent with us, even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, and I've said this before, and don't take this in the wrong, like people listening, but I think a lot of people just, that don't do podcasting, they just kind of feel like, oh, they just go on and grab the mic and talk. But there's a lot of planning that goes into this, and I think if you keep it just new metal, you kind of limit yourself to the new metal crowd. Not saying that's a bad thing, but if you can pull in other people in other genres, maybe there's someone in another genre that like only likes death metal, but you can catch them with a Zone Zero or something. You never know.
Yeah.
So we can potentially gain the bands we like fans, and we can potentially get new listeners for us as well. And
you made a great point, right? There's some bands that shit, I just totally lost it. you were talking about how we're not gonna totally go away from new metal, and that's very, very true. And truth be told, you talked about how there's only so much looking backwards you can do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless we sit down and we deep dive on every single new metal, new adjacent, questionable new, industrial new that's ever come out, we could easily get 5-6 years out of that. But after that, what's left? So to Tim's point, we want to balance the looking backwards, again, looking backwards with looking forwards. And we think that we're hoping that you, our audience, comes with us on this journey.
Absolutely. And, we had the conversation of, should we go back to bi-weekly? And, Jay made a great point. We don't have to get into the great point, but no, we're going to stay weekly. I think that, people look, like I've heard people say they look forward to like if we accidentally forget to post the episode, I know we get messages, yo, where's the episode?
Yep.
And
it's always
volumes.
my fault. Yep.
To me, that speaks fucking volumes, because people are sitting there waiting for the episode. And I fucking love that. And I just think that, the crowd that listens is just, I appreciate it, because you don't really find many times where somebody will actually go out of their way to message you, somebody you don't even know, to be like, hey guys, love the show, but where the hell is the new episode? And you're like, fuck, be right there,
Yep. I've definitely been emailed corrections to stuff we've said, and it's like, wow, man, we got people listening so intently that they're telling us, well, we're idiots, which is great. I mean, yeah, maybe we'll get the Cro-Mags on, Tim. That will be our final episode. We'll get the Cro-Mags on. No, but in all seriousness, we want to thank all of you listeners who tuned in, watched on YouTube, listened on the audio, chipped into the conversation on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, even on Reddit. We've had a really great time. Tim and I have had a lot of fun. We never thought we would get where we are. This has been a great, great journey for us. And we hope you're as excited as we are to continue it as we spread our tendrils a little bit further. And shit, you never know. Maybe Newbury becomes the next band like the Knotfest website. It'll
Yeah.
become the next brand, you know? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, let's also, like, people listening to, like, I would really, and I know Jay will, but I would really appreciate like some feedback on some stuff that we're going to talk about real quick right now too. Like, so we're thinking of going the Twitch route and doing some Twitch stuff. But like, would people like listening, would you actually tune in? Would you give a shit if we did Twitch one
Yeah.
night, or, you know, just stuff like that? Like, and just don't be afraid to email and yell at us, and don't be afraid to comment on YouTube and comment on Facebook, because that's,
Yeah, seriously.
and if you have ideas, email them over, because we're a podcast where we want the listeners involved, and I think that shows with the Jeopardy stuff and all that kind of stuff. Like Jay said before, like, we're nothing without the people listening. So get involved, man. Like, we're not gonna bite.
Yeah, if you
know?
hate our takes, please tell us. Say, Jay, your opinions are trash. Okay, that's great. Talk about that.
Yeah.
We had someone say that our opinion was terrible regarding Power Man 5000 tonight, the Stars Revolt, and I am still chasing this person around to try and get them to come on the show
Right.
to talk about that album, because Tim and I have been around this type of music long enough to understand that we're not always right. And there could be stuff that we missed either through bias or just the generational dividers, or maybe we were just listening to a lot of fucking brutal death metal and we didn't have the time to give that album a chance.
Yeah.
But seriously, like Tim said, send us some feedback. Tell us what you like and what you don't. We do this. It's a labor of love. It's kind of fun. It is a lot of work, truth be told. People really don't realize. Tim and I got an hour after this recording to go do some homework about what's coming up. But we really do want to thank all of you for tuning in. We want to thank all of our guests. You know, we want to thank the Jordans. We want to thank Detox. We want to thank Orion. We want to thank Holiday Kirk. We want to thank Doc Coyle coming out of nowhere and just volunteering to come on the show. You know, AJ and Kane from Purity and Hunter from Mood Ring and everybody we've ever had on. We really, I know I probably forgot a bunch of you and I apologize, but we really want to thank you for coming on, because this is you are part of what makes us successful.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the whole stigma where new metal is a bad word, it needs to go away. And I think this is a way for people to see that it's really not. Like, I think a lot of people come on and they're surprised, like, when you ask them, like, oh, we're a new metal podcast, and you're like, yeah, but we're like a metal band. But then they come on and they figure out that me and you actually know what the fuck we're talking about.
A little bit of inside baseball. Yes, we have, to our listeners and fans, we have had people come on who have after the fact said, yeah, we were kind of surprised you reached out to us as a new metal podcast. We thought you're going to be these weirdos with like Frosted Tips and Jenkos. And yet Tim and I show up and we actually know what we're talking about, which is quite flattering for us. But yeah, you know what? We won't belabor it too long. So just once again, we want to thank all of you for tuning in and being with us on this journey. It's really been a lot of fun, and we look forward to what we can do in the future. Like Tim said, please reach out with feedback, with opinions, what you like, what you don't, what your ideas. If you have a great idea, the guy who does our New Metal Jeopardy, Shane Heffley, he reached out out of nowhere and said, hey, I want to do a New Metal Jeopardy show. Can I come on? And now we're planning the third one. So seriously, if you have an idea, you have something you think that'll work, please let us know. And on behalf of Tim, myself, I want to thank all of you listeners. I want to thank all of you guests that have come on, and we look forward to a really exciting and prosperous 2022.
Definitely.
Thanks all.
Later.